Thanks for listening to Something in the Wilderness podcast. My name's Steve, and today we've picked a gem of a song from Andrew McMahon's catalog. But to be upfront, it's not a song that Andrew actually wrote, but he tends to get credit for it here and there. Sometimes I do these episodes solo, but today I have a guest joining me to help me break down this track. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me tonight.
So glad to have you. I always love meeting other Andrew McMahon fans. Can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Surely I can do that. Hi, everybody. My name is Jamie. I'm from Long Island, New York. I'm a 36-year-old punk rock princess, still looking for her garage band king, or maybe my own punk rock princess, something in between. Who knows? I've been a fan of Andrew McMahon since high school, and I'm a social worker. I work for Child Protective Services out here in New York, and I'm a big music lover. It's been hard with the pandemic, but going to live shows is one of my favorite things to do as a human. I feel like that's where we really feel like the human experience of like being in a community with other people who love music. I'm an auntie, I'm a cat mom, and I love Andrew McMahon. So I'm really excited to be here with you, Steve, to talk shop. Let's talk that shop tonight.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming. I gotta say, you're I think the third guest now that I've had on the show whose name actually appears in an Andrew song. And yours is unique because your name appears in two different Andrew songs. Are you fans of those songs, or do you know which song I'm referring to?
I know one of them. It's In the Trees because I listened to that episode recently of your podcast, and I was like, oh, that's right. Literally the first word is Jamie.
Yeah.
So I know it's that one, and that's a great song.
It's one of my favorites.
Andrew's newer stuff I'm not as much as a fan of, but that song definitely hits home. It just reminds us that we can always figure out, where our safety place is. And for him, it's House in the Trees. And the more that we are able to have an open heart and invite people into our safe space, the easier it is to get through life with each other. So that's kind of what I took from that song. But you told me there was two, and I don't know what the second one is. I'm sure as soon as you tell me, I'm going to be like, oh, duh, hello.
You may or may not. It's kind of a deep cut. It's an older one. It's called Airports, and it mentions the same Jamie because he was dating her in high school. So
I do remember that song. I think it's on an EP somewhere. I do remember it in my catalog, listening to that song, but obviously not enough to know that my name's there. So I guess I should feel pretty. I don't know who else has more than two mentions in the song, so we'll take it.
I don't know if there's any. I really don't know. I think that might be the only one. So does that make a song any more special to you to have your name on it?
It's the first time I heard Dashboard Confessional cover Jamie by Weezer. I'm like, oh my God, I'm validated. What is happening? I didn't even know that was a cover. There's actually a few songs that has the name Jamie in it. I don't know if you're familiar with the band Hello Goodbye. They were kind of like bigger in the 2000s.
I know who they are.
Yeah, so they have a song called Dear Jamie, Sincerely Me, and it's like this like long like love letter and like with like all these like poppy sync kind of music notes in it and things like that. And it goes, Dear Jamie. I can always hear it in my head,
One could argue that this song we're talking about today is probably one of the most popular Something Corporate songs of all time, and it's kind of proven with Spotify stats. If you look at the Spotify stats, it's the fourth most streamed track they have to this day, and it's only been performed twice in the last decade on stage that I know of anyway. Yet, Hurricane's still a standout track from that early 2000s pop-punk era that we know so well. It stood the test of time. I still feel like people refer back to that song and its lyrics. So let's get started. The band is Something Corporate. It was originally track 1 on the Audio Boxer EP released on October 2nd, 2001, and it's better known as track 6 on their first full-length album, Leaving Through the Window, which was released on May 21st, 2002. That hard rockin' gem right smack dab in the middle of their full-length album. It was featured on the Live at the Ventura DVD that they released a few years after that, and it was also on the Played in Space Greatest Hits comp. So Jamie, how'd you first come across this song, Hurricane?
I was trying to think. I had my best friend Aaron here the other day, and I was like, Aaron, did we ever see Something Corporate live together? So I could start my timeline of the dozen times. I figured out it's been a dozen times I've seen Andrew McMahon live at this point. And she said we did not. Remember those record stores? You actually go to a place to buy a CD and not on Amazon and not streaming it on, iTunes.
I remember it fondly.
I remember my first cassette tape was the Sabrina. No, I lied. That was my first CD. Was the Sabrina the Teenage Witch soundtrack, like from the 90s. And then my first tape was like, I don't know, like Boys to Men or like, No Doubt. No Doubt was my first tape. Okay, there we go. So I'm just meant to be a rock girl. I have a CD, and I love that it's in the middle and that you mentioned it was supposed to be first, because I don't know if I would have been as excited about it if it was like the first track, because I feel like that first track, from that album is just so iconic. Like the opening, it's just like, are you ready to get on? It just, to me, it's like, are you ready for the ride here? Let's start this with this, like, Standing on the Edge of Morning, Set of Sex and Newfound Glory. I'm a big Newfound Glory fan as well. I just think it was like a good intro. So the fact that it's in the middle, I think it's an anchor for the whole album, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
The reason why I messaged you and I was like, oh my God, you haven't covered Hurricane? It's my favorite song from that album, I feel like it's my favorite song because when I really started listening hardcore to something corporate, I was in college. I went to a very liberal arts school. I was like just coming into my own, figuring out who I am as a person, living on my own, like buying my own like groceries. I'm like, who am I? Like, I'm an 18-year-old person like trying to live. Kind of like the excitement, the feverishness of being like a young person on my own. It kind of reminds me of the energy of the song, being, like a young person in love, whether it's one-sided or not, if that's up for debate, I think in the lyrics of this song. But it was English class freshman year. We're learning how to write essays, like it's really relevant anytime after college. But hey, you got to take these credits to graduate, right? So we were doing like an analytical essay, and they're like, oh, you can take a piece of literature or whatever. And for some reason, I'm like, something corporate Hurricane. I'm going to like break this song down for the class. Don't remember what the grade was. I'm sure it was pretty good. I was a pretty good student in college, but I remember like really like dissecting the song, when I was 18, and the only song lyric I have on my body is a tattoo. As a song lyric from this song is a tattoo on my ribs, and it's a come on sweet catastrophe. To, I guess, remind me, like now I look back at it, I got that tattoo when I was like 20 maybe, just to remind myself, and I feel like this is like a, is the universe like speaking through me, like my 20-year-old body, but just to remember that through all the chaos, there's always sweetness that comes from it. Like through all the breakups, through all the losses, through all the hardship, there's always something sweet that comes out of it. And usually that's self-knowledge, that's, a new perspective, that is a new turn in your path to take you somewhere that you didn't think you were going to be. So I feel like that lyric specifically was like, hey, like, come on, like, bring it on. I'm ready. Like, I can handle this,
Yeah.
Because I had the like, kind of the background of having music to be a very comforting thing when I was younger. And also, through my early adulthood and things, knowing that, other people have been through the things that I've been through or felt the things that I've felt, like music was a very important part of that journey. Not a single musical bone in my body. I don't really sing well. I don't play an instrument. I've tried 1,000, and then, I'm the kind of person that if I don't get something immediately, I drop it. I'm like, oh, I'm not good at this. We're done,
Yeah.
But besides that, I can still be a connoisseur, and I love hearing live music. And I did hear this song once live at the first show I went to in 2004 at the Chance in Poughkeepsie. It's a little tiny little theater. We actually, me and my friends met Andrew McMahon after the show because it was the kind of place where security is so lax, like the band would just come out and back of the place afterwards, and we'd just be like, oh, hey, like, let's take a picture. And that picture is in the ether somewhere. I'm pretty sure one of my friends must have it because that was the time of digital cameras. But yeah, I remember like as close to front row as possibly could be, because when you're young, you can do the front row thing. And now I'm like, I want to be as far back by the bathroom, so if I got to pee, I can just go. That's 36 Jamie versus 20-year-old Jamie, and it's just like such a powerful song. I love like the poeticness of it. Andrew has very poetic lyrics. And then he told me that, that actually his friend wrote the song, one of his bandmates. And I was like, well, I still love it. But it's also good to know that he likes to collaborate with people who have similar styles, because I feel like that's probably the easiest way to flow and make things happen is because of that. So I just love the energy of this song. It's like really hard throughout the whole thing. And then I said, like, the bridge is probably my favorite because it's like in every live version I've heard of this song, it's like that's when the crowd was freaking nuts. It's like they're like, we can finally say thank you for this song, thank you for this energy you're bringing through this song. During that little quiet part where he's playing the piano, I just love it. I just love this song, and it was really nice revisiting it before we spoke, today.
I'm curious if you don't still have that assignment that you wrote in college about this song, do you?
I was gonna look for it this weekend, but unfortunately I didn't get a chance to. It might be on my external hard drive of my old computer. So if I find it, I'm gonna definitely send it to you. I think maybe we'll both get a laugh, like reading like what I thought when I was 20, listen to 18, 20, listening to this song, right? I think that'd be pretty funny.
I'm always fascinated by that kind of stuff. I went back. I did some cleaning out of some of my old stuff that I don't need anymore, don't use, and I kept the personal stuff, But looking at some of my high school writings and things I don't think I kept any of my writings from college, to be honest. But some of my high school stuff I did was a little bit more personal. But I wanted to say that when you said that about your college teacher having that assignment, I was so jealous because my brother had the same assignment in his senior year, like psychology class in high school. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to take psychology when I'm a senior because I want to do that assignment where we get to break down our, a song we love the lyrics to. And then she didn't do it that year. And so I guess that's why I have this podcast now, because now I just do it every week or every other week. And it's something I felt like I missed out on in high school or college, breaking down one of my favorite songs. So I just do them all
Hey,
now.
we can manifest our own realities, and here you are taking that experience and turning it into this. And so there is some writings of mine on the interwebs, as we say.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to write a lot of fan fiction when I was younger about bands or whatever. And I had a good Charlotte fan fiction site. And wouldn't you know it, the name of that site is Make Me Shake. Again, a lyric from the song Hurricane. So it really did it for me a lot of my life. And I totally forgot about that until we spoke, preparing for this interview today. It's kind of funny to go back and read like you said, read your old writings. And I'm like, I think I was pretty good. I don't know why I didn't pursue it. I did start as a journalism or creative writing major. And then I switched to psychology, sociology, and communications were my majors in undergrad. But yeah, it's kind of nice to, look back on the nostalgia of it because we're living in a crazy time right now. And if there's any time to find comfort, that's like a productive comfort, I'd say, not like drugs and alcohol and like, all that kind of stuff, but a productive comfort, definitely looking back on our old writing is something that we can do to take care of ourselves. So it was really cool to do that this week with this project we're doing today.
I'm so glad to hear that because I've really enjoyed doing that recently myself. So, well, let's look into some of the meat and potatoes behind this song here. The whole album was produced by Jim Wirt, Leaving Through the Window, and actually Audio Boxer for that matter. And something that not many people bring up among the fan base that I've noticed is that when this song was first released on Audio Boxer, it actually had a slightly different title. So it was called The Formal Weather Pattern Hurricane, hurricane being in parentheses. But so I would interpret, other songs that I like and know that have that, I usually call them by the part of the title that's outside the parentheses, right? So it seems like the song was originally called The Formal Weather Pattern. We know it as Hurricane, and obviously that's probably the right title for it, the way it all shakes out. So, but when it was re-recorded and re-released as part of Leaving Through the Window, they shortened the name to Hurricane. There's some parts that sound a little bit different. We got the performers on the song, Andrew on piano and vocals, as we know, Josh Partington, the guitarist, and William Tell, also on guitar, Kevin Page on bass, and then Brian Ireland on drums. So when you first heard this song, was it one of your favorites immediately, or did it kind of take you a while to come around to it and make that decision that it was your favorite song off the album?
I feel like it was pretty immediate because I feel like some of the other songs on this album are very much like, I don't know, like when I was in high school, I wasn't like going out, hanging out with dudes, drinking, like being the typical kind of high schooler. So I feel like those kind of songs, like Drunk Girl, and If You See Jordan, like that, those kind of songs didn't really like speak to me because that really wasn't my experience of being a young person. But like being infatuated with a boy, man, that Hurricane, like that really like kind of tugged, tugged at my heartstrings. And then you kind of go into like the slower ones, like Kavanaugh Park is one of my favorites as well from that album. It's completely different kind of vibe from Hurricane, and it just reminds us of like going through the trials and tribulations of just being a human. Like remembering the good and the bad and all those kinds of things, But I definitely think like just like like the high energy of Hurricane definitely drew me in. And having the reprieve of the bridge in the middle of like just the piano, which is what we know something corporate for, it just felt like very much like, yeah, this is perfect. I needed this little break in this song to get back into the good stuff. And this is the one I definitely bopped to at when I do see it as live shows, which I think I only think I've seen like maybe once or twice live. And the first time was the first time I saw him in 2004. But it's definitely one that gets me going. It was so cool to see all the live recordings on YouTube of this song, and the acoustic one was also very interesting that you sent me this week. The fact that they can have kind of like the same energy, but just with a guitar and the piano, and having the piano be more center in the song. Like I enjoy acoustic covers of songs. Like Yellow Card did an acoustic whole recut of Ocean Avenue, and I love listening to that, especially with like the the violin and everything in there. And some of my favorite songs that I like by artists, actually, I kind of like the acoustic versions better. Maybe it's just because I'm in the time of my life where like I want to slow things down and like really hear the lyrics, really hear the force behind what's going on. Maybe because also like right now I'm recovering from foot surgery, so I can't like be bopping right now. Right now, last year it's been a little bit of a struggle and stuff, but I just really feel like it was a well placed song. I also noticed that too. I do have the Autoboxer EP. I listened to that as well, and the Formal Weather Pattern. it's interesting like why they changed it to Hurricane. I think Hurricane just makes more sense.
Yeah.
It's in the lyrics, like, just stick to what you know, and maybe that's why they changed it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so you brought up that, the fact that there's slightly different versions. Like we talked a little bit about how it was re-recorded. I mentioned earlier that this song was also featured on Played in Space. Did you feel like that version was any different than the Leaving Through the Window version? Because I couldn't really hear a difference, and I'm not real good at picking apart those tiny, minuscule differences.
The only difference I feel like I could have noticed is with the audio boxer version. To me, it just sounded a little like not unfinished, but a little bit more raw. Like I feel like it wasn't as like finished sounding as like the other as the version that we know today. And I feel like that maybe the bass was a little bit more like that's a word, right? In the audio boxer version. So yeah, I'd be curious to like if anyone out there knows like if what differences are there between these three versions. We would love to hear from you about that. But yeah, I would say that in my opinion, for my ear, the audio boxer one just feels a little bit more like rough and ready versus, the one that we know today.
Yeah, when it went from audio boxer to Leaving Through the Window, I feel like they polished off the edges a little bit more in a good way. It was still definitely a rock song. They didn't take away anything from that, but it was just a little bit, it was like going from a good demo to like a polished studio song. And then if anything, if there is any difference on on Played in Space, and I don't know that there is, I did hear an interview where Andrew said that they remastered some of the songs for the Played in Space version. So I don't know if it was remastered and how much I would really hear in that anyway. So yeah, just a little bit more polished is what I think. So let's talk live history then. We've touched on that a little bit. So as far as what's listed on Setlist FM, the song is on 66 different Something Corporate set lists on Setlist FM, and I put it that way because I'm sure the number's much higher. I'm sure they played it at all their earliest shows after Josh first wrote the song. I have to believe they played it at every Something Corporate show after the song came out. But it's listed 66 times. It's definitely a crowd pleaser. We know that. It's one of the most pop punk songs. It's one of the most energetic songs, so it makes sense. And I was kind of looking through set lists, and I saw like sometimes it's the show closer. So I saw them in early 2005, probably shortly after you saw them back then.
Maybe it's the same tour. We don't know.
Yeah, it might have been. It was probably the North Tour. And they played it as the closer. And then I noticed there's a few concerts, or more often, I should say, that out of the set list I looked at, it was either the opener or like the second song in the set.
I don't remember where it was when I saw them. It's very interesting that that Andrew currently doesn't really play that song. But like when I was reviewing the videos on my phone over the last 5 years of seeing him, like a couple that are like all that I always take videos of from this album specifically is Punk Rock Princess. He always seems to do that one. So another big crowd pleaser. Yeah. I Woke Up in a Car, which is amazing because it talks about New York. I'm from New York, and actually, when I've seen him at the Chance in Poughkeepsie, caught a train to Poughkeepsie, like we go wild. We're like, oh my God, we're in Poughkeepsie right now. So it's cool. Nice to hear those little things here and there. So yeah, it is surprising that he doesn't do that. This song, it seems, as live as the popularity would be around, this song. But maybe one of the reasons is because, he didn't write it. Maybe that's why he didn't write these lyrics. And, there's some other songs that maybe he's written that he wants to connect with the audience more, and things like that. But yeah, like speaking of live, like if someone asked me like what my top 3 concerts were in general of my whole life of like going to hundreds of concerts at this point, in 2015, I saw him at the Paramount. He played with New Politics, who I never saw before, and they were amazing. Okay. They had such great energy. They were fabulous. And it was, I don't know what tour this was, but it was the one where, Synesthesia, however you pronounce that. That EP was out, so like he did the whole parachute thing where, if you all don't know, during that tour, he brought a parachute, to the tour. So he had all of us go under it or around it and do the parachute thing. Lo and behold, and I have a video of it. Somehow I'll try and get you this video, but he's like coming through the crowd, like towards me. So I'm like recording him, like in front of me, like I could touch him, I could touch it. I wouldn't touch people without their consent. That's not cool. But and he's like, just singing the chorus, and we're all singing around him, and I'm there with my friend Brittany, who I know since like college, and we've seen him several times together. And so it's a smaller venue, and it was just like, got the rush. I was like, wow, this is like amazing, like that he's down here with us, and like a chill out dude. And like I saw him a couple years later at Warsaw, which is this again a small venue in Brooklyn. Okay. And and it's a Polish venue, so you can get like Polish food and see him, and it's amazing. So I'm like, this is the best like thing ever. Give me some Polish
Yeah.
food, give me some kielbasa. I need some energy.
Nice.
And that was the tour where he had the set as like a Mr. Rogers Neighborhood kind of set,
Oh, yeah.
and yeah, so that was really, I'm not sure what tour that was. I'm not good with that kind of stuff.
I know what you're talking about. I didn't see
Yeah.
that tour, but I've heard it referred to before.
I mean, I never thought I would stand for 3.5 hours watching somebody, but I was riveted the whole time.
Wow.
Like, just like the songs he chose, like how he changes the dynamic of each performance. Some things were just spotlights, some things were the whole set with all like people popping through, the picture frames on set and stuff. He's singing in the rafters, he's singing down here, he's like everywhere. Oh, that was another really, really great experience with him. And I don't know if this is just like an Andrew thing or like if you just go see an artist, but like, when Andrew is there and when he's emoting and when he's with his band, like it's like everything else just kind of like blacks out. You're just totally alive in that moment. And I think that shows the power of music and how it moves people. And also the power of the community, of the people that you're there with. Like everybody, if you're not screaming the lyrics, like get the heck out. Like you're not living this concert, right? And I feel like always at an Andrew concert, especially, everybody is like screaming the lyrics, like having a good time, like talking to their neighbors who they don't know, and things like that. And it's also been a special experience for me because I brought, former boyfriends, former partners with me to see these shows. And it's just like such a beautiful bonding experience to share something that means so much with somebody else who means a lot to you.
Yeah.
At least at the time, because, love isn't forever sometimes, and that's okay. But yeah, it's just like I love seeing him live. He's so great. I didn't see him in November when he came here. Just wasn't in a good place to go see him. But
Yeah, understand.
I gave the tickets to like my ex-boyfriend to go see him. And he had a great time because I'm like, oh, these are going to go to waste. Why don't you go see him? Like you live there, So that was really cool that he was able to do that, and I could do that, for him. But it's been rough during the pandemic. I have gone to some live shows. My last one I saw Taking Back Sunday at a very small venue here in New York. I wore a mask. I didn't care if you had to be vaccinated. I still wore a mask because that was just my comfort level. But
Sure.
Oh, it was so nice to be out and seeing live music again and like getting sweaty and gross and be like, hey, now I can go home and go to sleep and sleep soundly,
Yeah, definitely. The last time that Andrew has played Hurricane in concert was when Josh joined him on stage at the Dear Jack Foundation show in 2016. That I know of anyway, in my YouTube searches and all that. Kind of like you said, when you're at a concert going nuts, singing along, the community of fans, that's kind of what it felt like watching that video. It's a song that people clamor for. It's a song that people crave, even after kind of being gone for so long, if you will. I'm glad they were able to do that. And yeah, you mentioned that there's a lot of live performances on YouTube. There's a couple. I'll link a few in the show notes. There's a couple from 2002, and then I'll link that one from the Dear Jack Foundation show, like 5.5 years ago. And then you mentioned the acoustic version earlier, which I wanted to come back to. So yeah, I found that, and I had never seen it before I sent that to you. I was so excited to find that. My family had gone, they had some afternoon plans the other day, and so I turned it up and I was belting out the lyrics. It's interesting because I was singing louder to the acoustic version than I was to the rock version, which was interesting. I was just so excited to find something new and fresh that was actually 20 years old, almost 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think about that acoustic version?
Oh, it was great. It was so good. Like I mentioned earlier, just having the simplicity of the piano and the guitar, and it's really just focused really on the lyrics and how like the music supports the lyrics. Because like I don't know anything about music, but like bells and whistles and whatever, sometimes it can take away from the song. Not like it had to do that. It has not done that with Hurricane, in my opinion. But like it's just like really cool to see like your favorite stuff just like stripped down to their simplicity. It's about the lyrics and how again the music supports the lyrics and doesn't overtake it or anything like that. So I really enjoyed that. This is how the universe works. We're supposed to talk about this song so we can find that version and really enjoy like a new way to experience the song, on a different level,
Yeah, kind of like pulling memories or reading papers from high school. It's like when you find something that feels like a time capsule from another time that gives you like a new perspective on something. Music can do that. And going back to also what you mentioned earlier with some of your other favorite bands who do acoustic renditions of their songs. I love that Yellow Card album where they re-recorded all of Ocean Avenue. That's so amazing. I know you mentioned Newfound Glory. They've done it with a couple of their songs. I love Newfound Glory acoustic. I don't know if all fans feel that way, but if they just recorded like 12 of their their personal favorite songs off their albums acoustic, I'd be okay with that as the next album. Like
Yep, I'd be in.
yeah,
Cover
yeah.
songs and acoustic. Let's go, Newfound Glory. Let's do it.
Yeah, they did a concert actually during the pandemic, I think in Franklin, Tennessee, and you could pay to live stream it. So I did. Unfortunately, I have no way to get a recording of it, and of course, it's not on YouTube or anything. But I did get to watch it the one time. It was really cool. It was just acoustic. So 3 of the guys from the band just performed it acoustic. It was fantastic.
Oh, it sounds amazing. Oh, what a nice experience. And I think that's something to be said, just not to get all like philosophical and off of our topic here, which is Andrew McMahon. It's just like there's something to be said, like we're in this age where you need to record everything to like make it worth something. You need to
Hmm.
selfie everything, blah, blah. And I will say that I am very much like a victim of that as well. I drink that Kool-Aid, but there's something to
Yeah.
be said also about like, just really experiencing something, no phones, no way to record, just like, staying there and seeing, something like, live, which is why I love going to see live music. That's not necessarily popular, just like, some local band or whatever, because like, it's not about like the notoriety of like, oh, I went to see this band, but it's about like really experience it and stuff. So, I mean, it sounds like maybe I would have loved to. I do remember that concert. I would have loved to live stream that myself. But now you have this memory of something that not everybody got to experience, and
Hmm.
it's yours. You can keep it for yourself. And
Yep.
not everything is meant to be given away, which is not what kind of like the society has taught us. But off
Yeah.
my soapbox, that's kind of triggered that thought for me.
No, the issue kind of tears me apart sometimes at concerts because I don't want to hold my phone up and record, but then again, like after the show, whether it be the next day or 5 years or 10 years later, if I see a recording of that same show, I'm so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody got it. But I don't want to record it and I don't want people recording it, but then I want to enjoy it later. So it's like it really tears me up, the whole thing. I went through
I
that
agree.
back in November. I went through the exact dilemma. I was on the rock boat. I got to see Andrew McMahon perform 4 times, and I recorded I think 2 songs total out of the 4 shows, and then like pieces, just bits of others. But I was so excited that afterward people were posting videos, and I'm like, oh my gosh, now I can watch like 15 other videos that other people took. But I'm like, yeah, but I didn't want to. But I didn't want to have that be my experience. So it's a tough one for
It is.
me.
It's a
So
tough call. It's hard to be
yeah,
first world problem kind of
yeah,
experiences,
it
right? First
definitely is
world
a first
problem.
world
Yeah.
problem. Absolutely. Well, let's talk songwriting a little bit. So we've already kind of covered the fact that Josh is the primary songwriter on the song, but it was funny. I saw this Entertainment Weekly online video where a woman was interviewing Andrew about, I think, about 8 of his songs or 10 of his songs, and I'll link that in the show notes. She asks about Hurricane, and he's like, there's like 3 words in that song I wrote, but that's Josh's song. So it was kind of funny, and I don't know if the journalist knew that or not at the time, but he did give Josh a lot of credit. He was like, it's a fantastic song. But I found it interesting that he's like, I wrote 3 words in that song. I'm like, I'm such a nerd about it. I'm like, well, which 3?
Which 3? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Is it Come On Sweet Catastrophe? I'm going to say it's that, so
Yeah.
I can get connected.
Come on, sweet.
Is
Yeah.
it So Don't Say? We hear
So,
that a lot in the song.
yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah. But in that interview, all Andrew would say about it, besides kind of praising Josh for good songwriting, is that he's like, yeah, it was about one of his high school girlfriends or something like that. But he also said this. I thought this was cool. He's like, yeah, Josh showed up to band practice one day with this song, and I remember hearing it, and it was so good, and I was like, I hate you, because they had this like healthy, competitive nature where it's like, okay, I'm writing some songs, you're writing some songs, and we come together and we put them together. And so there was a little, I'm sure there's a little bit of that in every band where there's more than one person who does the songwriting. But I think all that to say is he was kind of jealous that Josh wrote like one of the best songs on Leaving Through the Window. And I'll go on record in my own opinion of saying that it's one of the best songs. I think a lot of people that are fans of that album agree. But it just goes to show like how good of a songwriter Josh Partington was. Maybe that's just the type of people Andrew liked to surround himself with, or other good songwriters like to surround themselves probably with other good songwriters, right? That's why they worked so well together. I'll say that I think, when you look at the liner notes and see which songs Josh wrote, I would say his songs are just as good as the ones Andrew wrote on those couple of albums there. So I really appreciate the contributions that Josh made for sure. In that acoustic video, I don't know if you caught this. Josh mentions, I wrote this song in an oceanography class
Yes,
in
he did.
college. And I just thought that was kind of funny, like talking about hurricanes in an oceanography class. How perfect is that?
Hmm.
Oh, and the funniest thing he said in that video was, "That's the best thing I got out of college," which I find hard to
Hit song,
believe,
not too
but
bad, I think. Not too shabby. Like $40,000 for a hit song. That's all you got out of college. You made it.
yeah, I think he probably recovered that money back. I don't know.
Probably a little bit.
Yeah, he finished college years after something corporate went on hiatus, earned his poli-sci degree, then he went to law school, or I think he got an MBA, went to law school, and he's an attorney now. So I doubt that was the very best thing he got out of college, but I would say that was a pretty good consolation prize on top of everything else. So
Yeah.
I think he's doing all right. But this is actually the third episode I've done in just over a year about a Josh Partington song. So it's kind of, his songs have definitely made their way into the fandom or into the fan base around Andrew McMahon for sure. I mean, he's a big part of it, right? Have you heard of the band, not the song, but have you heard of a band called Fire Escape from the mid 2000s?
No, I'm not familiar with Fire Escape besides the song by Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness. But no, I know there was a band called Fire Escape.
I'm sure one has nothing to do with the other, but Josh Partington's band after something corporate went on hiatus is called Fire Escape. And from all I can find, they only released one full-length album called Dance Hall Apocalypse. And if you appreciate the songwriting, like the guitar work on North and Leaving Through the Window, and I would say especially North, it's definitely more sounds like North. It definitely fits in with that whole like emo, pop punk, 2007 Warped Tour sort of sound, if you will. So
Yeah, that's my bread and butter. Sounds good to me.
yeah, so that was another one of those times, kind of like the acoustic version we were talking about of Hurricane, where I just found that album. I don't know why I never thought to listen to it just a few months ago. And I was like, wow, this is really good. Why haven't I been listening to this the whole time? It's like one of those at least pretty good albums from that era. So anyway, were you a fan of the North album as well? Did you listen to that one like you listened to Leaving Through the Window, or?
I was, and I feel like it's definitely a different vibe, you know. I think of that, and I believe As You Sleep is the opener for that one, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, which is a totally different kind of vibe than like the opener for like Leaving Through the Window, you
for
know.
sure.
And like I loved in that song particularly how like the piano plays like a real driving force, and it's
Mhm.
kind of like Twilight, like lullaby kind of like, you know, vibe that the song gives off. Yeah, and that album came out when I was in college, so I did see him on the North Tour. You were correct when you said that, when you
Mhm.
mentioned that earlier. Yeah, I did love that album as well. Like, you know, 21 and Invincible. I mean, like I think I was 20 when that album came out, and like that like definitely hit me hard. And then Miss America, which I really love that song too, because of the storytelling in the song. You know, I really enjoyed that one too. So yeah, it definitely hit. It hit differently than, you know, Leaving Through the Window, but it also really was a really great album. And obviously, like I was devastated when I found out they broke up. I'm like, oh my god, my life is over. But then it just like transformed into something new, and we all know, you know, us real hardcore fans of Andrew McMahon know, you know, what happened in 2005, right before that album came out. You know, here in New York, he had to be rushed to the hospital and, you know, have his battle with leukemia. And if you haven't seen the Dear Jack documentary, it was like $5 on Amazon. I bought it a long time ago, and I watched it
Mhm.
every once in a while when I just kind of need to pick me up. I don't know if that's like if you can relate to, Steve, but like when I just need like a pick me up, I need to like watch things that like show me hope and make me laugh and show me, you know, that there's people have worse shit going on than I do. So like get the crap out of it, Jamie, of your BS. And aside from, you know, my love for something corporate like Jack's Mannequin, The Glass Passenger, like if you ever want to do a talk about Swim, call on me, because I have a lot of like ties to that song, Swim. Again, that's a song
Yeah,
that he always plays. Like I feel like every time I see him in the last 5 years, he's played that song, Swim. So that album holds a dear place in my heart, you know, of the Jack's Mannequin era, and then of the Andrew McMahon, The Wilderness era. Zombies in Broadway really holds, you know, a soft spot in my heart. You know, he recorded that here in New York. I could have actually gone and be in the video for Fire Escape, but I had a conscience and I didn't want to lie and call out of work sick to go to Brooklyn, which I'm kicking myself now, because that was like, I love that music video. Like that music video like warms my heart with like the
yeah,
wacky wiggly arm men falling in love with each other, you know, the girl and the guy one, and they make a baby at the end. Oh, that's such a good video. That really made me smile. So yeah, so there's certainly certain albums of his, you know, his discography that definitely jump out to me, because I think that's another beautiful part about songwriting. You know, sometimes when you're going through a really hard time, a song will come into your life and you're like, damn, that's my jam. Like this song was written for me. This song was sent to me to help me be okay with my feelings, to help me heal, like whatever it could be. And Swim from Jack's Mannequins, my mom, back in 2008. That was when that album came out. And I lost her from cancer at that time. So that's the one that definitely like holds close to me. But yeah, man, like we're just lucky to have him. Like, what is it, giving us 20 plus years of music, and he's not stopping anytime soon. And it's just so cool to see him as a father and have Cecilia and Kelly on tour and stuff, making like a family thing now. Like, it's really nice when we embrace the evolution of getting older and kind of like embracing the evolution of who we're all going to be. Because I'm not the same person that I was 5 years ago, 15 years ago, when I was 18, and that used to scare me, but it's something that I really embrace now, because being older is awesome because it means that we're alive. So
yeah, I love that you use the word evolution for the transitions that Andrew's taken in his career, his life, his music, and that we all do. It happens to all of us. Yes, we are absolutely all different people than we were 18, 20 years ago when we were teenagers or in our 20s or whatever. So I totally agree with you, Jamie. There's so many songs of his that speak to me that way. Thank you for sharing that very personal story about your mother. So I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you so much. I only got through that time because I had Andrew McMahon, and like Jason Mraz put out a song around that time that, again, like kind of like helped me get through that time in my life. And that's the beauty, the beauty of music and the beauty of embracing the arts when we're really like in like rough spots, because sometimes maybe we can't put into words how we're feeling, but we can hear a song or see a piece of art, or watch something, and be like, yeah, like now I know I'm not alone, and I know that I can get through this because look at this person now, look how they're doing,
Well put. Well, let's talk about speaking of how music makes us feel, let's talk about the sound of the song. So I mentioned earlier, this is probably like one of their most pop punky. Is that a word, pop punkiest song? I don't even know.
We're making it a word, Steve. Put it in the dictionary. We're making it a word tonight.
One of the most pop punky songs or whatever that they have. I just like how the opening, you can tell it's like a guitar based song. I mean, because it's Andrew, because it's something corporate, there's going to be piano. But, from the beginning, that acoustic guitar, I love that sound. And then it's like 20 seconds in, the acoustic just changes over to the riffs of the electric guitar. I love that transition as well. So it definitely has that like early 2000s pop punk feel, which I think, I don't think Something Corporate was pandering to anything that was going on in the mainstream pop punk world at the time. But I feel like they were slid into that label of pop punk because of songs like this, Punk Rock Princess, I Want to Save You, and you mentioned earlier, and this song for sure, that it's like when they started pulling this one out at Warped Tour, I'm sure people were like, oh yeah, this is like right where I'm at. You're meeting me where I am. So
yeah, if you see Jordan, Drunk Girl, like very like pop punk, kind of themes of like, getting the girl or partying, whatever, but also like, hey, don't cross me, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. Watch it, So I agree. Like, there wasn't
a little bit of attitude, a little bit of edge. Yeah,
that's right. And there really wasn't anyone that I can remember. I'm a, Newfound Glory, Yellow Card, My Chemical Romance, Good Charlotte, Fall Out Boy. Oh, Fall Out Boy is so much fun. I love it.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah, there you go. See, I'm just stuck in perpetually being 18, which is fine because, I'm an adult, but I also can have 18-year-old, proclivities for music. But no one, that's why I really love the Yellow Card too. Like, no one was featuring or had like a piano as part of, what they were doing. Just like no one really had like a violin as part of what, Yellow Card was doing. So it just gave it a little bit of something different, and it definitely made it stand out for me. And I wish I could have saw that Warped Tour. The only Warped Tour I went to was in 2003, I think. No, 2002, because I was a junior or senior in high school, and my friend Erin just got her license. So our parents were trusting us to drive to New Jersey with my friend's younger brother, who was probably 12, like sleeping in the back seat. And we're like, oh my God, look at all this freedom we have. Like, look at all this power that we get to, like, we're trusted to drive to another states and go see a concert to get home in one piece and not like get murdered or kidnapped or like do anything crazy. Oh, that was such a good time. But I would have loved to see Something Corporate live. And that's why I really enjoyed at Warped Tour. That's why I really enjoyed some of the videos you sent, because I think one of them at least was like at a Warped Tour kind of situation, and so you can just see like his his command of an audience, which I love. That's another thing I love about Andrew. He just knows how to command an audience and do that, but also play the piano at the same time. It seems like a lot of work, I can barely like tie my shoes some days, like get out the door on time for work. Like the fact that he could do that at such a young age, it was really awesome. And like this song, again, definitely reminds me of that pop punk kind of feel, and it's just like it just goes the whole time, like it's nonstop. The energy, I didn't realize how little the piano had to do with the song until I heard it acoustically from that version you sent us. I was like, wow, the piano's not really in this song very much, which is wild because I just assumed that he was just banging it the whole time, But but I think like one of my favorite parts musically for the song, like I mentioned earlier, I love the bridge, and obviously the bridge is where they feature the piano the most in the song,
Yeah.
and where we all get to be like,
Yeah, that's powerful. Like you said, the guitar stops and then that piano bridge, and it's just like, oh my gosh, what is it? Like it gets your attention.
like, what's happening? This is totally a change in the energy, of the song.
Yeah.
Which is, really beautiful. And I also like that. I think there's like one or two moments of the guitar right at the beginning before he like breaks out into the first like shakedown, you make me break, blah, 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 and I really like that too, because again, it gets your attention, because usually you get like a little bit of a musical intro in a song before someone starts singing, but like right away he starts to be like, hey, let's go, here's a song, let's start it off right, so those are some things that like kind of jumped out at me about the song musically, at least.
Yeah, I don't think that the song would be the same without the piano. I think it does add a lot of value to it. But I think, and I can't say this about too many Something Corporate songs. Maybe I can. But I feel like it could be without piano and still be a good song. But the fact that the piano's there makes it a better song.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it changes the dynamic a little bit because, like you said, that bridge, and then there's just certain parts where it kind of comes to the forefront, and you're just like, that works. I love the build and the finish at the end, and I think that's what especially makes it a great live song, from like that second chorus all the way to the outro. It's like really going. I mean, the guitar's doing this kind of different thing, and then it kind of ends like a grunge song, which I'm a grunge kid, like from the 90s, so it's, I think that's why Something Corporate's Leaving Through the Window played so well to someone like me, because I feel like it's where pop punk and grunge kind of meet some of that, and then with a piano,
Who doesn't love a grungy piano, man?
Yeah, kind of a lot of different things coming together for me. But like the outro to Hurricane has this like distortion, like that was very present in a lot of the grunge songs I love. This distorted outro, or just kind of like,
bing, bing,
it's just,
bing, yeah.
It's just kind of like flowing you out of the song. Also, like the drummer does this like drum fill right at the end, which I've never really paid attention to until I started preparing for this episode. I'm like, I heard that and I liked that, and I think it probably always meant something to me, but it never was very clear to me. So
yeah, absolutely. I love how the song kind of like, they just let the music kind of like do its thing, kind of sort of fade out, just to give us a moment to be like, wow, that was an experience. Thank you for that. Because of the beginning of the song starts so quickly. I really do enjoy the little bit of the music part at the end, and like how like the Into Your Hurricane 2 lyrics of the reprise of that part of the song, just gives us a little time to like enjoy the kind of like the downslope of the wave that we were just on, of the song.
Yeah, I've got the CD right here. I have to remind myself of which song comes next. Oh, Kavanaugh Park. Wow.
There you go. Maybe that's why I like it, because right after that song,
quite a transition from.
Is one of my other good songs from that album.
Those are like two extremes on the album, I would
Absolutely.
say. Yeah, but in a good way. So.
What do they end? Because I haven't listened. I mean, I listened to the album earlier this week. What do they end the album with?
Oh, it's The last song on the album is Globes
and Maps. Oh, classic.
Yeah.
That's probably the slowest song they have actually on the album, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, yeah. Yeah, but in the middle of the album, you have number 5, The Astronaut, which is sort of ballad. Then Hurricane, then Kavanaugh Park. So it's like, it looks like they're trying to do this dynamic, like ballad, hard rocker, ballad, and then Fall is after Kavanaugh Park.
Oh,
so
I love Fall.
I do too. Yeah, such a good song. Josh wrote that one too.
Josh, you're taking over this episode, man.
Yeah, he is. So what do you think? You ready to talk some lyrics?
Let's talk some lyrics. I got them loaded up right here.
All right, so I'll let you start. Are there certain lyrics that kind of resonate more for you than others, or?
Well, we talked earlier about the bridge, which is like, one of my favorite parts of the songs lyrically. It's like, you don't know the power that you have on me, person I'm writing the song about, which is what what the song's about, a person, It's just like, I love the end where it's like, come on, sweet catastrophe, because, probably, when we're crushing on people, when we have crushes or whatever, like, they're called crushes for a reason. Like, if it's not reciprocated back, it is crushing. So, but again, it's like, come on, sweet catastrophe. It's like, well, I kind of know what I'm getting into right now, and that this may not be fruitful, but hey, like, I'm willing to invite the catastrophe and the chaos that might ensue, from the situation. Another part of the song that I enjoy is in the second verses of, so pull me under your weather patterns, your cold fronts and the rain don't matter, because the sunburn's what I needed. It's just like, like, I don't care what you're going to do. I'm going to do what I need to do to feel something from this interaction, from this experience, because hey, like maybe I need to be burned by the sun. Maybe I need to feel the fire and the passion of like being a young person in lust, in love, however you want to say it. So those two parts of the song definitely jump out at me. And then just like, and the wind went and pulled me into your hurricane, saying that like it's not really my fault that I got pulled in, like the wind from you. Like hurricanes make wind. I don't make wind. You pulled me into your hurricane. And there's like the idea of a hurricane being like, it's like, this like very destructive force, but there's always an eye to it. So sometimes like, I don't know, like this might be again like getting a little out there, but like, sometimes when we're in relationships that may not be like the best for us, friendships, relationships, whoever, like sometimes we just focus on the eye of the hurricane, and that can get us through. Or sometimes we're like, well, that eye is not enough because all this hurricane wind and rain and all that stuff, it's really like messing me up. It's really not like bringing me to where I need to be, So I just love the idea of like, relationships, whether they're friendships, intimate relationships, as sometimes they can be hurricane-ish feeling, and that helps you direct your sails about where you got to sail to.
Yeah, definitely. I like the way you put that. I don't think I could say that any better. I agree with what you're saying, the hurricane metaphor. I just got to point out that for me personally, I also love that part. So pull me under your weather patterns. And I think I love that part not only for the lyrics, but also the music during that part, that like really pushing, like, like kind of aggressive. So pull me under your weather patterns, your cold fronts and rain don't matter because the sun burns what I needed. But I got to admit something here. Most of my life that I've known this song, I thought he was saying because a songbird is what I needed.
Oh,
and it's just like,
so sweet.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cute. It's like, what, how much sense does that make? Like I even have had a vision in listening to the song of a bird, like getting caught in the hurricane, like a poor little songbird, it's like, okay.
You got a chance, that songbird. Get out of the hurricane, dude. Go find some shelter.
Yeah, you're not going to make it. But the sunburn's what I needed makes so much more sense in the context that we're talking about weather metaphors. And sometimes it hurts, but sometimes it's what you need. That wasn't the only misheard lyric that I've had in this song. My other favorite part lyrically of this song is, well, maybe this time I can follow through. I can feel complete, stop paying dues, stop the rain from falling, keep my ocean calm. This time I know nothing's wrong. I always thought Andrew was singing, keep my own calm.
That sounds like it could be it. I mean, that also would fit in right there, I feel like, right?
But again, we're talking weather metaphors. Well, now we know it was written in an oceanography class. So this makes so much more sense. But yeah, that easily could have been in there, right? But I'm such a huge fan. Here I am singing along in my car the whole time, probably around the house over the years, and I'm like singing the wrong lyrics here, but that's pretty typical for me. So it takes actually like diving into these lyrics to actually, oh, that's what it actually is. So when you hear about people hearing lyrics wrong, that's usually me. Like I hear lyrics wrong all the time. So, but yeah, this song has some great lyrics. You mentioned a lot of them, but I think what also adds weight to some of these lyrics that I mentioned is the it's the music behind it at the same time. So it's like it's so powerful, not just because of the lyrics, but also because of the music. You have that driving guitar, and you have that kind of consistent piano that, like we said, it kind of comes to the forefront sometimes, but it's like kind of in the background sometimes. And you got the other instruments as well doing their part. In fact, I forgot to mention this earlier, but out of the two, I think both 2002 performances that I'll link, one of them, the drums are really more present than you'd expect because I feel like the camera person was right next to the drums.
Oh, that would make sense, yeah.
And then the other 2002 version, for whatever reason, the bass is turned way up, which usually I'm guilty of not noticing the bass in a song as much. It was interesting to hear what the bass was doing during this song because it's good, but it's, I don't notice it on the album version as much. So the only other thing I wanted to say about lyrics is I like that it's almost like there's some tie-ins. So even though, as far as we know, these lyrics were almost all written by Josh Partington, but some of them kind of tie into lyrics in other songs. And the only example I only have one, but there might be others, is we've talked about globes and maps. And in this song, he sings, so maybe I should stay and map around your world. 8 tracks later in the album, he's talking globes and maps and making metaphors about a relationship that way. So I just thought that was really cool, kind of that tie-in to other parts of the album, and just showing the example of how well these two songwriters work together to form a full album. So
And definitely the lyrics that you mentioned, Steve, like the music behind those lyrics, like I agree, they're very powerful. They punctuate the lyrics. They help you really focus on this is where you should be putting your attention on the song right now, because aside from, the powerfulness of the actual written word, having that kind of like shift in the music, like you said, a little harder in those places, especially when they get out of the bridge back into the chorus. You can feel it revving up during the lyrics you mentioned.
definitely revs up. Yeah.
It's a beautiful way to, like, bring attention to your song without having to say anything different, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Probably one of my favorite, besides the parts I've already mentioned, another favorite part of the song for me is the last chorus. He sings, "No, you don't say these currents are still," but it's punctuated. I like the way you use the word punctuated. It's punctuated with "no, you don't," and then it's like the guitars coming in and say, and then the guitars coming in, and then these currents are still, and the guitars coming in again. I thought it was good songwriting, but also the production's great too on this, on how they put it all together. Besides what you've covered already, do you have a favorite part of the song?
I'm a bridge girl. I love a good bridge, not only to drive my car across to get to places. I love a good bridge in the song, because it brings you away and then it brings you back in, it gives you like a reprieve from kind of the repetitive of the song. I feel like it's like a really well-written song lyrically, musically, and it definitely has, stand the test of time, because I'm like 36 years old looking at this song and still remember back then, but also I can still see where this can be in my life today, this song, and that's the beautiful part of like a classically written song. I mean, we're not talking about the Beatles here, but like a classically written song from when I was growing up, it definitely is one that stands out for me.
I get you. I've got a fun fact for you. If you look up the song Hurricane on Spotify, you get a lot more results than I would have expected. Have you ever just searched Hurricane on like a music app or something?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay. A lot of artists have a song called Hurricane, and I didn't and there's variations. There's Hurricanes or Eye of the Hurricane, but I'm just talking about the word hurricane only. So actually, when I noticed this, I was like, maybe they should have left the name the formal weather pattern to kind of stand out. But hurricane's memorable, so whatever. But I'm gonna name a few. I'm gonna name a few artists that actually several artists that have a song called Hurricane.
Oh, awesome!
On Spotify.
Excited to hear.
And what I find interesting about these 5 artists that I'm about to name is they all have a song called Hurricane, and it's one of their most streamed songs for all of these artists. Okay, maybe Hurricane's a good title for a song. I don't know, or maybe it's just a coincidence. You may know the song by Bob Dylan called Hurricane. It was repopularized in the late 90s when Denzel Washington starred in a movie about a boxer, Reuben Carter,
Yes.
a real life boxer who was falsely accused of murder, went to prison. Anyway, so he has a hit song called Hurricane. There's a modern country artist who I've heard of, but I'm not familiar with his work, named Luke Combs, has a hit song called Hurricane in the last decade. There's a kind of country rock-ish band. I think they say rock, but to me it sounds country, called Band of Heathens, and they have a hit song hit for them, called Hurricane. Bridget Mendler, who I had never heard of. She was on the Disney Channel on a couple shows. She became a pop star. This was kind of a weird transition, but now she's a researcher at MIT. She kind of transitioned careers, but she had a song called Hurricane before she went back to school. And then I Prevail, which I feel like I've heard of this band before.
I think so. I've heard of them too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of hardcore. In the description I read, hardcore metal, but definitely like a little bit punk, metal, probably hardcore, whatever. But anyway, they have a song called Hurricane, and it's their most popular song. So I actually liked it. I listened to it, and I was like, hey, that's good. I would put this on. So
yeah, add it to your library. There you go.
Yeah, I have found, like, through this, I found I could probably have a 10-song mix of songs called Hurricane and be okay listening to them. Just some other ones. I'm going to just run down the list here. A few more. These were not hit songs by these artists, but these are more of these songs are artists that I would listen to. Panic at the Disco from their Vices and Virtues album has a song.
Oh, that was good. That was a
Hurricane.
Good but a weird album. I liked it.
Yeah, I like that album. In that song, Thrice has a song called Hurricane. Theory of a Dead Man has a song called Hurricane. 30 Seconds to Mars, which I liked more than I expected. I don't consider myself a 30 Seconds to Mars fan, but I actually really like their song called Hurricane, I found out. So found another song that I like. And then The Fray. I love The Fray. They're kind of a piano-based band,
They are, yes.
Yeah, they have a song called Hurricane. So some fun facts, like
that is fun. I'm gonna go listen
yeah,
to some of those songs now. That's awesome.
yeah, a lot of songs called Hurricane, and some of them are pretty good. Just some final thoughts. Like you put it, this song really grabbed my attention when I started listening, like for the first time. I don't think I heard it performed live at Warped Tour when I went way back in the day, but I assume they probably played it there. I didn't know Something Corporate at the time, so it was just kind of a band I noticed, but I didn't, really tune in until after I listened to their album. When I saw them in 2005, probably on the same tour you did, that was one of the ones I was looking forward to, like probably more than half the crowd, right? So, and like I said, they played it at the end. So I know you were a big Something Corporate fan, Jack's Mannequin back in the day. Are these bands still in your regular rotation today? Like, do you still listen to a lot of Something Corporate, Jack's Mannequin, and kind of other similar bands?
Oh, absolutely. I always love asking my my Alexa to like, hey, play music, and then literally, like, obviously because I've been listening to the song more, a lot more of Something Corporate and Jack's Mannequin stuff has been coming up. I definitely find myself listening to probably Jack's Mannequin the most as of late in my life. There's a lot about transitions and that kind of like time of Andrew's recording and stuff, and I definitely relate to that. I still listen to probably the bands that I always see when they come to town are Andrew McMahon. Jason Mraz is another big one, which is not really his style, but like I do like how they're both lyrically very similar. I feel like the way they are very poetic,
singer-songwriter stuff,
singer-songwriter kind of stuff. Newfound Glory, I will always see them when they come, into town. I just love them so much, So yeah, I feel like mostly I still listen to the same kind of pop punky most stuff, but just 20 years later, where they may not be able to be as aggressive on stage as they were, back in the day. It definitely breaks my heart a little bit when like bands like they stop touring or there's not a band anymore, like Yellow Card. I was like, are you sure you guys want to get back together? But then again, like then bands will go. I love the new trend of bands touring because of a certain album. I think Newfound Glory is doing their 20 years of Sticks and Stones this year, so I'm definitely gonna get out for that. So it's kind of fun. Like I love the ability to like just listen to a whole album be performed live, like front to back. That's really cool. But definitely, probably the Jack's Mannequin stuff is the stuff I listen to the most. These days, and probably the first two albums. I did enjoy People and Television. I think the third album was right. They
People
have some
things,
like nice. Some People and Things. People and Television is one of the songs. That's why.
Yeah.
He definitely has some things that jump out at me. Like I believe Amy I is on that one, which I like that song. But yeah, I'd say that the Jack's Mannequin era is probably my favorite era because it reminds me of all the transitions I was going through at that time in my life, becoming like a young adult and, leaving college and getting like a big girl job and all that kind of stuff, moving home. Ew. But these things happen, can't live in college forever.
Yeah.
But I'd say like mostly now I listen to that kind of stuff and like random things like Kesha. Like Kesha's last two albums have been fire. And I'm like, what is happening? I don't listen to Kesha. But again, those albums came out at a time where like I needed that kind of music and like the stuff that she was talking about, and that stuff, which is like female empowerment, about, like relationships and all that kind of stuff. So
do you have any other final thoughts? Is there anything that you didn't feel like we covered or?
Again, I just want to say thank you so much for letting me come on and talk to you today. Like, it's very nice to talk shop with people who also still listen to the same kind of music that I do, and kind of sit down and have these experiences. I really appreciate you, and I also appreciate hearing the newer fans that I'm hearing on your podcast. People coming on who only listen to like the last couple albums and stuff, so I can have like kind of new respect for those songs that maybe I don't connect with as much, but that I can hear other people and how they connect, and maybe that can like shed some new light on the song. So if anybody wants to, follow me, I'm on Instagram. Jamie is fancy AF. I do share a lot of sober content on my Instagram because I've been sober for almost 3 years. So if anybody needs that kind of support, always look out for me. Being sober is cool. We still do all the same things. But thank you again so much for having me. And I hope you had as much fun as I did being on here with you today.
Oh, I definitely did. Like I said, this is my favorite part about doing the show is meeting other Andrew fans and getting to talk music. I'll link your Instagram in the show notes so people can find you if they'd like, and that's awesome. You're promoting a lot of positivity there, it sounds like. So, all right, well, everybody listening, be sure to rate and subscribe the podcast if you would. Post a comment on one of the socials. I love, as you can tell, I love interacting with other Andrew fans. This is awesome. You can email me directly at somethinginthewilderness@gmail.com, especially if you'd like to be a guest like Jamie was today. So I just want to say thank you again, Jamie, for coming on, taking time out of your night. Good night.
Good night. I'm sure we'll keep in touch. Good night, everybody. Good night from New York.
Thank you.